Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
And what's it gonna do?
It doesn't matter how you're doing. Woo! Wheeling, dealing, limousine right, jet flying.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Would you please shut the hell up?
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the human rubble.
What up, what up? Welcome to episode 40 of Keep the Kayfabe. I'm Mike, sitting here with my boys, ready to talk some wrestling. We had some big moves happen in AEW this last week on AEW Dynamite. Darby Allin and Miro had a classic, as well as the Young Bucks and SCU. And then we're going to go into the vault and give a recap of WrestleMania 3, one of the greatest pay-per-views of them all. But before we get into all that good stuff, let's introduce the boys real quick. Up in Glendale, somebody who keeps it regal, Steve Grobschmidt. How are you, Grabby?
I don't just get hyped, I stay hyped.
Of course you do. And he's no longer with us, right? Is that Mojo?
No, he was just released. He's not dead. I mean, his career might be, but
his career was dead. His career was dead after he signed.
Yeah.
Hey, he held on a lot longer than a whole lot of other people.
Oh yeah, he was living on borrowed time.
I mean, once he starts hawking his Zubas, that's when you got to be worried, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I would buy one. Let's cruise down the Bayview real quick. Talk to someone who keeps it freshly squeezed, Matt Michelson. How are you, Matt?
And then Linda McMahon had to pay for it. There. How's that for kayfabe?
An all-time classic that happened. You can only hear here on Keep the Kayfabe.
Yep.
That's our buddy Greg the Hammer Valentine.
I just watched that again like 2 days ago, and that's great choice on your part to go there.
Yep. Thanks.
45 seconds of brilliance.
Since we'll be talking about WrestleMania 3 tonight, I thought it was appropriate to mention our favorite 80s wrestler, Greg Valentine. Shout out to you again, Greg.
Thanks for listening.
Friend of the show.
Yes. Total friend of the show.
All right.
As you're buying his what's those videos that you can buy?
Cameos.
Cameos, yeah.
Well, it's better than stealing pictures of him, Charlie.
Exactly. Getting the dust there.
He only loves you 30%. It just depends how much you're paying him. All right, let's stay down in Bayview real quick. Talk to my guy. Oh my God, it's Charlie Michael.
The whole effing show.
Nice.
Anybody watch that RVD? I caught part of that RVD.
I heard it's pretty good.
That was good, man. They do really. I mean, I would rather watch their documentaries than the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched part of that, and I watched part of the what's it called? Two cool dudes or something about Diesel and Shawn Michaels. Was excellent, dude. It was really good. You get a chance to catch it, watch it. It was really good, dude. Really good.
I wish there was more hours in the day
to watch
because
this
there's
stuff. Yeah,
just so much stuff on. I mean, there's that Hidden Treasures show that's on A&E too. That could be kind of interesting.
On that too. Yeah.
I think the Shawn Michaels one just aired last night. Is that what you were talking about, Charlie?
Yep. That one was on. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Him and Big Daddy, and it's just how they came up, the whole curtain call thing, the whole him getting the belt, not being ready. It was really good, dude.
Way much stuff to watch. Well, it's like what we talked about last week, 40% more content this past year than the previous year. So
right.
It's like
just more proof of that.
It was better. That was better than the parts of the pay-per-view I saw.
I love a good wrestling documentary.
For sure.
All right. So speaking of a ton of wrestling, we had a ton of great shit that happened on AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. Highly anticipated match. Current TNT champion Darby Allin faced off against Miro. And we've been saying Miro's been looking good. He's slimmed down. He's bulked up. He looks focused. He got away from, what's his name? Kip Sabian in the best man role.
Kip Sabian, yeah.
So I was really looking forward to this match. Did I think Miro was going to get the belt? I mean, I wanted him to.
Yeah.
But I didn't think so because, Darby's the man. I love watching him. But, if it push come to shove, if really Darby Allin and Miro had a match, Miro just looks like a beast and would destroy Darby Allin.
Yeah,
and it was a very physical match. And if you didn't get a chance to see it, we're going to recap it right now. But there was a change of hands of the belt. Miro, your new TNT television champion. Boys, what'd you think of this match?
Awesome match. It was the perfect time, I think, for Darby to drop the belt. If you listen to this week's or previous week's episode of our show, you probably would have heard us talking about how Darby Allin got thrown down a flight of stairs on the Blood and Guts episode of Dynamite. Just a brutal spot, regardless of whether it was gimmicked or not, in which case, knowing Darby and just having watched the show, it definitely wasn't gimmicked. So in real life, could I believe Darby losing the belt? Absolutely. Bleeds over perfectly into the storyline. At the same time, they've been doing a great job building up Miro now as this unconquerable monster. And this match just brought all those elements together. Another great example of just AEW's booking. They think of every possible angle within a storyline and find a way to bring it all together. And this was all of that happening, and just a really good way to kind of transition Darby Allin away from the TNT title picture, bring Miro into it, just kind of prove that he is becoming more and more of a relevant persona within AEW. Just everything here was done perfectly. Mike, like you mentioned, this was a super physical match. I think my favorite spot in it, well, there was two actually. One was this insane missile tope suicida through the ropes into Miro, where Darby Allin just kind of hurls his body at him. That was incredible. There was also a spot where Miro sort of tosses Darby into the ropes, but only Darby's leg hits. For whatever reason, that just isn't something you see normally. So it just carries extra weight, I think.
Yeah, and that could really dislocate your knee. I mean, a lot of bad can happen because those are steel cables wrapped in those ropes.
And that's what Excalibur reminded us of, which good for him, right? Like way for Excalibur to sell that spot.
Absolutely. Steve, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I love that match. I thought it was so well done. I think they just tell good stories. They kind of, to a degree, repeated the same thing they did with Cody, where, he's pushing it to the limit week after week after week, and then he just pushes too hard. In this case, I guess the variation too is that Darby got beat up by Scorpio Sky and
right. Page, the other Page, Ethan Page. Is it Ethan or Evan?
Ethan. Yeah, so that was cool. So yeah, it's just, and even so, so Darby goes in all beat up, still puts on one hell of a show. So he doesn't lose a damn thing other than the belt. Yep. I assume him and Sting are now freed up to go, get beat up, revenge. And Miro needed that. I think, I got some friends who may well be listening to this show who were bemoaning, look, they're like Miro jumps over to AEW and they're doing shit with him with Kip and all that, and what a step down, blah 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 blah. And like within less than a year, he's the AEW champion, and all of that, whatever messiness of that feud is, like, it's not even memorable now. It's like he is a badass, and like that's all that matters, and he's a very credible champion. And I thought it was just really well done.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it, Charlie?
Yeah, no, it was a good match. It was a really good match. Because you didn't really know who was going to win. But I think they booked it right by putting Miro over because, I mean, in all reality, he should be able to beat him. He's a bigger monster. So him going over was perfect. It was just a good match. It was good. And it'd be interesting now to see what road they take Miro down and who he spars with going forward. But it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
Precisely. Same thing. I was kind of really sad to see Miro keep losing matches from going from WWE to AEW. Now that he has the belt on, now we're going to see him, kick a little ass. Like now it's his turn, and and the other treat of this all is too, it looks like they are setting up a tag rivalry between Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky versus Darby Allin and Sting. So we're going to maybe see a little more live in-ring work from the Stinger.
Yeah, so I'm sure that'll be a great match.
Exactly. So they got to be building up to Double or Nothing for that rivalry to go down, and I'm pretty sure it won't be a cinematic match like we saw Sting in last time.
Probably not.
We're gonna see what he's looking like. So
yeah,
a lot of good things happening.
Cheers to Miro. He looks like he can do all the hits, so it should be fine. Darby will carry the team, and then he'll come in, do some splashes and stuff, and probably come out looking fine.
Exactly. I think that cinematic match was more of a test for Sting to see if he still got it.
Yeah,
it definitely passed. So
that was like a war.
Most definitely. And speaking of war, SCU versus the Young Bucks had a match, and if you don't follow any Instagram pages of wrestling, it's probably a good thing because you might want to puke after you saw a member of SCU. Is it Daniels?
Christopher Daniels.
Whose eye looks like, oh my God. It looks like Abaddon's
it looks like Abaddon's contacts. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. On a bad day.
I was going to say it almost looks like one of the zombies from the Lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash, which we will not be covering tonight. So that's
thank God.
You're off the hook, WWE.
Right. Yeah. So, and the stipulation of this match was if SCU loses, they would have to break up. And they did lose, didn't they?
Yes.
Yep.
So where are we standing right now? Is SCU done?
Daniels is probably retiring.
They're done. Yeah, I'm guessing.
Behind the scenes.
He's in his 50s, so I think he was brought in to be a combination wrestler and agent. So I would imagine he's going to slowly transition to more the agent.
So Christopher Daniels is in his 50s?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's good, isn't he? I mean, he still looks
he's
good.
Incredible.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of figured he was in his 40s, but I did not know he was, pushing that age. That's pretty.
He's 51.
Yeah, I was just looking up. Yep. Yeah, I know he turned 50.
He's good. Yeah.
He's been around a long time, bro.
Well, I just always hear too, he had a lot to do for bringing in the talent to AEW. Everybody says Christopher Daniels is like the rah-rah cheerleader for all these great wrestlers. Like he has a really, really great eye for talent. So maybe he wants to get out of the ring a little bit and into more of coaching these young bucks, not the Young Bucks. That's not a good nickname for young studs that are coming up in AEW right now. And
I think it says he's the head of talent relations. So
there we go.
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll be doing mostly behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll pop in the ring every once in a while.
And Kazarian's no spring chicken either. I think he's in his 40s. He's in his 40s, but man, that guy still can go. So I imagine he's got some years left in him.
Yeah, they're both in great shape. And who knows? I mean, give it like a year. Maybe they'll take a year off and then come back for a special match. And I mean, that'll get the crowd popping for sure. Because nothing makes me pop when they're like, "This is the worst city."
I love. Yes, he was great.
It.
Yeah, I mean, the match itself I thought was excellent, and I thought the Young Bucks, man. We've talked about this before, but like in 2013 or 2011, when a team can legitimately heal it up so much that I like buy into it, after all. And they're just so despicable that I root against them. And the whole imitation of the I love you, I'm sorry thing was so great. And being more mad that his friend is bleeding on his shoes than the fact that he's injured. I mean, it was so great. My only
perfect kills, dude.
My only quibble about the match, or not even the match, the post-match, is I think AEW runs such a tight ship with television and keeping things on a schedule that I feel like they completely shortchanged like the moment in the ring between Kaz and Daniels, because they went right to the back where it was like Moxley and King and I'm losing the names, but they were like destroying the back and so they went right to that, and then they came back for like a minute or a second or whatever. So it's like you never really got to see other than a hug in the ring, like this like iconic tag team. I think have their farewells.
I think the Bucks playing the total heels. I don't know if it was on their Twitter or on their Instagram, but they said that they told the camera guys to cut that to cut to the back to tell them so they wouldn't have
I mean, if that was part of the plan, then it's kind
of. It probably wasn't, but they improvised and said they did it up just for their heel stuff. So
it felt like they had this huge moment where a legendary tag team was ending, and they like cut the farewell because of time. So which maybe was not the thing to cut.
So maybe they'll give them some time on TV.
They probably will
tonight or Friday night when it's on again.
Or they'll have some big like farewell to SCU that the Young Bucks will crash and be more despicable.
Hopefully. Yeah, I agree with you. AEW does kind of try to pack in as much content into their programming as possible. They definitely keep it moving. All right. Well, that was a lot of good stuff happening this past AEW. Again, they are building up to Double or Nothing. Probably next week we'll have our prediction show as our card fills out. And what we have on tap for this week, we had a fan write to us. I believe his name is Nick, who asked us if we could review WrestleMania 3. And we give the people what they want. So this is what we're going to do. Absolutely. So thank you, Nick, for your listenership. I hope you enjoy, and this will be really fun to go back and chat about one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Basically, it was the most pivotal. WrestleMania 3 was like pretty much the one that solidified wrestling in the pop culture globally. It was the biggest attendance record that is disputed, but yeah, this is the one that really set WWE into like a solid global phenomena that it is today. So it took place March 29th, 1987 at the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. The attendance is 93,173.
Though Dave Meltzer likes to dispute it because he likes to piss on everything.
And Jesse Ventura likes to argue that number as well because he doesn't believe it includes him and Gorilla. At least that's what he said on commentary during the show.
I love it.
Good. Well, regardless, it was a packed house, and being in COVID times without seeing crowds and just thinking back on like what a crowd that was. I mean, I think it did set the U.S. indoor attendance record for an event, and it was just really refreshing to see no cell phones in sight. So everybody's locked in, keyed in on the entertainment. Can you imagine trying to get a beer at that place when there's 93,000 people and trying to take a piss? Sounds awful, to be quite honest with you. But it was a lot of fun. It was a fun show. It was hosted by Bob Uecker. We had announcers from, the late, great Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura with plenty of special guests. We're going to run down the card and give our thoughts as we watched it this past week. And we probably won't spend a lot of time on each individual match, but we're gonna relive the memories. So let's take a walk down memory lane for WrestleMania 3. So the card opened up with the team of Rick Martel and Tom Zink, the Can-Am Connection, and they defeated Big Bob Orton and the Magnificent Morocco with Mr. Fuji to lead off the evening. And Steve immediately hated this match because of his hate for Bob Orton.
No, I just hate his son.
Oh,
okay. I actually likes Bob Orton Sr.
Hatred spans generations.
Ace, as Papa used to call him, Ace.
Ace.
Well, I call him Ace.
I think I told this story on Keep the Kayfabe before, so I'll do it super abridged. But one of my favorite Bob Orton memories was I went to a show. I think it was at the auditorium in Milwaukee. It was WCW, and I think Milwaukee, at least back then, was a WWE town. So we went to this show. A buddy of mine and I. The crowd was decent, and it was a house show. fans weren't into it. Like match after match happened and they just were sitting on their hands. And then it was Cowboy Bob Orton versus somebody. I don't even remember who, but Orton was the villain. But because everybody in the crowd knew him from WWE, they went crazy, like cheering for him. And I remember he at first was trying to heel it up, but as the match went on, because the crowd was so cheering for him, he was starting to like get into it. And it was hilarious. I don't remember anything about that card other than that Bob Orton got the ovation of the night and like super like seemed to appreciate it.
Nice.
It took me a few days to watch this pay-per-view. And the problem was every night I'd start it. Right as I went to bed, I'd try and watch some of it, but I would fall asleep pretty quickly just because I can't stay up once I go to bed. So I probably watched this opening match at least 5 or 6 times while preparing for this podcast.
It's a good match.
I think one of the cool things that came out of it, though, is on past episodes of Keep the Kayfabe, and for our longtime listeners, you've probably noticed this, but Steve has mentioned the name Rick Martel on many occasions. And you've never heard me speak because, quite frankly, I did not know who this guy was until watching WrestleMania 3 in its entirety. What a worker, especially for the 80s. Work rate was way less than it is today. I feel like today, every match, you have to have just Iron Man level conditioning to work a wrestling match. That wasn't necessarily the case in the 80s, but Rick Martel, man, that guy could go. And this match really showcased his talents. Great way to open the show. The crowd was red hot throughout the whole show. Mike, I know you mentioned that Mr. Fuji was one of the managers in this match, and it was really cool seeing him. I think between him and Jimmy Hart, they managed pretty much every single team throughout this entire pay-per-view, with the exception of maybe Bobby Heenan also.
And Slick.
Yeah, and Slick. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about him. I don't know that there was a match on this show that didn't have a manager involved somehow.
Right. Good point. Definitely a different era.
Let me ask you guys a question. So I was only not even 3 years old when WrestleMania happened. Do you guys remember like the build up to this, Charlie and Steve? Do you remember like where you were, like how old you were? Did you watch it live? Like what was the feeling? Because this was 87.
Yeah.
So I would have been 13, and my family bought this pay-per-view. I remember that.
Wow.
Throughout high school, I had WrestleMania parties. I think this might have been 13. Would that be just a little before that? Yeah. I don't think we had a party, but I remember my brothers and my dad and I watched this.
It's awesome. Yeah, they did say that they grossed in ticket sales over $1 million in 1987, and then their pay-per-view sales were over 10 million.
Wow.
And it was watched on like 167 different closed circuit TVs or however they want to call it. So yeah, this was like the big thing that Vince probably went all in. Probably didn't, like, if this was a bust, wrestling would have probably folded.
Trouble. Yeah,
exactly.
One quick note before we move on: Tom Zink. There was a guy. So I think he was in the AWA. Good worker. I was doing a little refreshing my memory, but he was in this prominent match. They won, and like later that year, he wound up like having some sort of dispute with WWE and left. And I never really found out why, but he kind of ended on bad terms. And then he went to WCW as the Z-Man for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah, that was him.
I remember the Z-Man.
And then he left wrestling, I think, pretty young. And sadly, in 2017, he passed away in his 50s. So,
wow.
Yeah, but he was, one of those unsung, like, pretty solid worker.
He should have changed his name to Tom Gold or something else from the periodic table.
From zinc instead of zinc, you went to gold. Nice. Tim Gold.
I'm not a science guy, but I do remember the Z-Man.
One of the biggest shocks when you look at who's in the WWE Hall of Fame is that Martel isn't. I mean, he had a good run, tag team champion. He was the Model, which was a notable 80s villain.
Oh, yeah.
He was.
And he had a decent little WCW run. I am shocked he's not in the Hall of Fame. He didn't do any lawsuits or anything. I got to think he's going to get in one of these years.
After they hear this podcast, they definitely will.
If you're listening, Rick, I'm a big fan. Always been a big fan, Rick.
All right, let's go on to the second match of the night between Billy Jack Haynes versus Hercules with Bobby Heenan.
Oh man!
And this one ended in a double count out. It was like two huge individuals. Hercules was massive.
Oh yeah, he was a monster. I never tell you the story. I ran into him they did a house show back in my hometown back in the day.
Really?
He was in his prime, and we were out in the bars over in Iowa. So I think he'd go out 18 at that time, and that dude was a nut. He was like, he was doing coke and shit, dude. And he was a scary fucking dude. It was like, I knew he was a wrestler, but none of us went up to him because he was like going to the back with some dudes. He'd come out like all crazy and
God.
shit. Yeah.
So what you saw in his promo on WrestleMania 3 wasn't far removed from him.
No. Yeah. He was that guy. He was your 80s wrestler, dude. Partied hard after the shows.
He was always a favorite of mine in the 80s.
Just had a great body too. Yeah.
He was just
I was into bodybuilding and shit at that time. So yeah.
And these two got I mean, that was a pretty physical match. Two of the strong men kind of beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Charlie, it's funny you mentioned the body on Hercules because as I was watching this pay-per-view, I remember getting to this match and seeing Hercules and thinking, oh man, Mike's gonna love this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's a machine, dude.
Mike is the body guy here on Keep the Kayfabe.
You know, Billy Jack Haynes.
I'm a body guy too.
Billy Jack Haynes was pretty ripped too in his day.
Yeah.
Or as Jesse called him, Billy Jerk Haynes.
Yeah, that was real clever.
He sounded like he was kind of a bit of a head case behind the scenes too, I think too, like real intense. And I haven't heard like what he's up to these days. He's probably not in good shape. Billy Jack's still alive. Hercules
he's still around.
Again, recurring theme in wrestling. Sadly, died at age 47.
Hercules did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
ODing on coke or something?
I think it was something.
It was drugs, dude. Yeah.
My other favorite thing for those of you listening that you want to watch some funny Hercules' last match in WWE, he was wrestling oh crap, now I forgot. It was I think it was Sid or the Warrior, but I don't remember which one. But he clearly didn't want to do the job. So he took the guy's finisher, got up the second after the match was over and walked out. Like he was just done. Like no sold the finisher. Like, and that was the end of his run.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit too. This is when the WWE used to get major superstars to sing the national anthem in America the Beautiful. This one opened up with Aretha Franklin. Playing the piano, in Detroit, Motor City, Motown. That was huge in front of that kind of crowd. And now the WWE basically gets these people off of SoundCloud they probably don't pay them at all. I don't even know. I think what they need to do to get back into relevancy is maybe, who I would love to see sing America the Beautiful? Britney Spears.
Oh,
Charo.
Hey, think about it. If they got Britney Spears,
Tupac,
free Britney is going on. If she came back out, you know how much more eyes would go onto the WWE?
Oh my God,
it'd be huge.
If they could get that deal, free Britney, that's what they need to get back to. Yep, most def. But yeah, so. Match number 3 on the card, Hillbilly Jim versus King Kong Bundy. And these two fellas are big boys, but they brought some little guys with them. I mean, we've seen some dwarf or midget matches, but I forgot about this one. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised because each of these vertically challenged individuals had different ethnicities that had a name that represented them. I'll just read them now. The Haiti Kid and Little Beaver and Little Tokyo and Lord Littlebrook. So you
Lord
can
Littlebrook, he was great. He was like a super heel. Oh, I remember him.
Yeah. Little Beaver got the fucking piss knocked out of him too. Poor
but
guy.
then but all the other little people all rallied to him then after that happened. It was great.
Man,
like you, Mike, I was really I was surprised to see this match, but at the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I suppose it was the 80s.
It was that time. Oh yeah.
What better way to put some heat on Bundy?
Yeah, there's a Chinese midget. Oh, let's call him Little Tokyo. And there's a Native American one. Yeah, Little Beaver.
Yeah.
Chinese midget named Little
Haiti
Tokyo.
kid. Black guy, a Haiti kid.
Little Tokyo Chinese, doubling down on the racism. I love it.
Right, exactly. Lord Littlebrook. Oh my God, there's a name.
And it's shocking that Vince is a Trump supporter. Wow.
And the crazy thing is, this was the shortest match of the evening at 3 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yep.
So lots of small things. All right, let's keep her moving. This match, I was really excited to see, and one that I do remember when I used to rent this from Blockbuster. I would watch this match all the time because I was a big JYD fan. The Junkyard Dog versus Harley Race. And Harley Race was with Bobby the Brain Heenan and the Fabulous Moolah. And the heat with this was pretty good leading up. Harley and JYD had a pretty good little story going on. They would steal the crown from one another. I mean, whoever lost had to bow to the other person. And I mean, JYD, tough motherfucker, basically the Hulk Hogan of his territory versus Harley Race, another like
legend,
heavyweight legend, toughest. Everybody says he's one of the toughest bastards that ever wrestled and stepped into the ring. And this match was really fun because Harley sold for the dog very well in this match.
Oh, it's Harley, baby.
Yeah, he was just flipping his body over, stiffer than a board, over the rings, onto the floor, onto the mat. It kind of reminded me of like those Highland games when those dudes throw like a big telephone pole to see how far it can go end over end. That's what Harley was doing in this match. This was awesome. And it's funny. Harley Race won this match for as hot as JYD was, but the payoff at the end was JYD hit Harley with the chair, which got major pop, and he ended up putting the robe on and the crown. Were you guys what did you guys think of this one?
JYD got a pop overall. Like, you could argue, I mean, he was kind of past his prime. He wasn't really he wasn't like great in the ring, quote unquote, but he had like one of the pops of the night, I thought, when he came out.
He's a popular dude.
Legend. Yeah. And I mean, just a fun match.
Wasn't he like the Hulk Hogan of the South in the
territory? Huge. Oh yeah. If you want to see some good shit, go back. It's on YouTube. Let's look it up. When the Freebirds blinded Jake or JYD, it's fucking it's classic, dude.
People were sending him money because they like for his medical bills. That's how into it they were.
You gotta go back and watch it. You want to see real heat and how shit used to be. Go back and watch that stuff, dude. It's incredible. It's incredible, dude.
If your world,
you see the Freebirds just trying to get the fuck out of there after they did it because
shit went down.
It was chaos.
And you know, if you grew up with the WWE and watched in this area, I mean, you kind of knew JYD as sort of like the lovable kind of like he was the upper mid carder. But they're like I think probably a lot of fans had no idea how huge he was before that.
Yeah, he made the Mid-South territory, man. Yeah, Mid-South kind of went downhill after he got snatched up to go up east.
Yeah, I was really caught off guard by the reaction for JYD. Granted, I haven't really seen any of his stuff before, and am not as familiar with him as obviously you guys are. The other thing is, I am familiar with Harley Race. I was actually almost kind of like bummed or just not surprised or excited by his performance, although you guys bring up a good point. He sold like crazy for Junkyard Dog, and I think that's something you don't really see a lot anymore, is matches being as one-sided as this one was. And I think this was kind of a pattern throughout the card. There was a lot of matches where it was pretty clear who the winner was going to be one way or the other, or they pull a swerve on you at the last minute. It didn't go 50-50 at all in a lot of cases. And at the time, I think it made sense because there was such a strong heel face dynamic, and that's what really drove a lot of these matches. So yeah, great match. It was really fun to watch. A lot of these matches were just fun in hindsight.
Most definitely. And none of them, like I brought up the times again, none of these matches went over 10 minutes. There was only two matches on the whole card that went over 10 minutes, and we'll get to those matches later on. Next, dude, Steve, this must have put you in a glass case of emotion. It was the dream team of Greg Valentine and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, with Johnny Valiant and Dino Bravo versus the beloved Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond. And friend of the podcast, Greg Valentine and Brutus, defeated the Rougeau brothers. But we know Steve has brought them up a lot, and I haven't seen them wrestle a ton. I mean, I would have to, go back and remember some of the matches. But I got up for this one, and those guys are badass. They have a really good chemistry in the ring, and I was impressed. This was really, really great. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great.
Were you in a glass case of emotion?
only slightly less by the fact that I lived this when it happened live. But no, I mean, I love the Rougeau brothers. I loved them as good guys, but I particularly liked them as heels. And this was before their heel turn. But yeah, this is Greg Valentine looking good. This is when Beefcake pre-accident. Actually, was a pretty solid wrestler. And I mean, this was this night was when they face turned him. So right. He was they were gonna strap a rocket to him, and they had to get his face all mashed up.
But that was before the barber gimmick too.
This is the start of the barber gimmick, because the next match is Adonis, and Brutus comes out and cuts his hair. That was the literal start of the barber gimmick.
And the rest is history.
But no, it was a fun match. I mean, yeah, and then like I joked earlier, Valentine, we actually, this was maybe slightly past his prime, but he was still kind of animated and into it, and everybody kind of laid out here.
Yeah, he did. Greg actually took a pretty heavy shot from one of the Rougeau brothers off the top rope. It was one of their finishers where they just kind of jumped and put their crotch in the dude's face. Greg actually got knocked in the face with one of the dude's thighs.
It was
it hurt pretty bad. Yep. Matt, did you have something?
Yeah, I was actually really, one of you guys mentioned this was Brutus the Barber Beefcake's face turn on this night. And I didn't even, I guess, consciously catch that because, in this match, you have him teaming up alongside Greg the Hammer Valentine, friend of the channel, but heel on the show. But then later in the show, and we'll get to the match, but we do see the return of Brutus, and he's cheered by the crowd, partially because of the situation I think he finds himself in. But I did find that kind of interesting. So we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Very good. Moving on to the next match. This is Charlie's guy, everybody's favorite Scotsman from Saskatoon, Roddy Piper, defeated Adrian Adonis with Jimmy Hart. And Adrian Adonis, talk about ahead of his time, from Brooklyn, but in a very flamboyant. Yep. Nobody was really doing that. This is pre-Goldust.
Yeah,
exactly.
I loved Adrian Adonis.
Oh yeah, same here. I loved him too.
And this was a hair versus hair match. Whoever lost got their hair cut. Jimmy Hart was out there. Yeah, baby. And this one went 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and Roddy did defeat Adrian Adonis, which Brutus the Barber Beefcake came back out and tried to help out cutting Adrian Adonis's hair, but the razor wasn't working so well because apparently when your hair is really sweaty, the blades can't really catch it so well. So lesson learned. Somehow they got a pair of scissors out there very quickly to kind of get the gimmick out there. But yeah, they were kind of struggling. But yeah, this was Roddy's. Was this his farewell match too?
They kept this might be retirement match.
Yeah, I think he went to go do some movies after that.
Yeah, that's when he did They Live and some other movies. Yeah, he was out for I think 2 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, Adonis, he was so good.
He was so funny.
There was a moment at the end of this match where Roddy Piper's swinging that mirror at him, like as they run around the ring. And I was just waiting for that mirror to make contact and glass to shatter and go everywhere. But shockingly, amidst all these people running around in the ring, the chaos, and that did not happen. So that's like, I guess to me, the one letdown of this match, although we did get to see some of his hair get chopped off. So that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, Roddy was so good.
Did you guys know that he was tag team champions with Jesse the Body Ventura in the AWA?
Oh, were they?
Yeah. He and then he was tag team champs in the WWE too with Dick Murdoch. Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
For sure.
Right.
Ahead of his time, as you said.
That would be an awesome pairing, Adonis and Jesse. Like, you know, the fashion guy with
East-West
Adonis
connection. Yeah.
Definitely. I'll have to look into that. Next match was Danny Davis in the Hart Foundation, Brett and Jim Neidhart with Jimmy Hart. Yeah, baby. And Tito Santana versus the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, and the Dynamite Kid, who has an upcoming episode on Dark Side of the Ring. Keep an eye out for that. Danny Davis, holy shit, did he have some heat on him? People did not like this guy.
I wanted to punch this guy through my screen. Just instant heat magnet. He comes out in that like Beetlejuice looking suit that was not fitted for him.
Did you see why like he wore that? Or did you know why?
Well, they mentioned something about him having been a referee.
Yes. He was a referee for quite some time, and then they pulled where he started like favoring the heels, and then he turned, he helped the
Dangerous Danny.
He wrestled for a while after that. Never beyond the mid card, but you're right. Heel heat, man, because he was the traitorous referee, and
there was Danny a lot of matches. There was a lot of matches on this card where the heels did win. And the people, got pissed off, but they were just leading up, the build up. So it was proper. I mean, the booking was very proper on this WrestleMania. And Neidhart, a young Bret Hart, that was fun to see. Tito Santana has been great. I mean, people love Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid, even though they were from Great Britain. They got a big pop from the crowd. Maybe it was because of Matilda. A lot of dog lovers.
Question for you guys. I think several times, maybe it wasn't in this match, but I did catch Jesse Ventura refer to Tito Santana as Chico Santana.
Oh, yeah. Yes, always, dude. Always.
So was that just like a rib that Jesse would play on this guy?
Yes.
Or was that okay?
Yeah, just,
absolutely.
Just the heat. They played with that was time. They did a lot of racial shit, dude.
It's or like Billy Jerk Haynes. It was like he always had those like plays off of the good guys he didn't like.
Yeah, it's just a different time, bro. Because like, what's his name? Who's the coach for the? He's a Redskins coach now, but he coached for the Panthers. He's a classic Bear.
Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera. His nickname was Chico. If you're Hispanic, you get this Chico nickname, dude. It was just different times,
and
bro.
I always remember
just different times.
The deadpan, this was obviously the era when Vince McMahon was the babyface announcer, but Ventura would call him Chico Santana, and McMahon would always say real sternly, "I believe that's Tito."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was always good.
He was great. He's a guy.
He's like, haven't heard that, but I can picture Vince, it knowing Vince. Yeah.
Vince is one of the. I think he was a great announcer, dude.
He was.
He's like a little hidden gem. He was really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
He knew how to work it. Yeah.
He paved the way for his own company back then.
Totally.
Yeah, he did. He was the workman.
The best was, and I had no idea that he owned that shit either. That was the best part too.
Nope.
Nobody did. He owned it. Yeah. Yep. It was awesome.
Made it better.
Into the Stone Cold years. Yep.
They would throw. It was weird because, like you said, they would throw each other little alley oops like that. Like, Chico Santa. I believe that is Tito Santa. Like, just always team each other up. Yeah. They don't do that anymore,
No, you don't get entertaining guys. I mean, you get some decent guys. Like the AEW guys are good, and Morrow and those guys are good, but you don't get like that kind of guys playing off each other's comedy.
You get Corey Graves just like kind of mechanically acting like a heel, and it's
you get this guy. Boy, this first time I heard this guy on Raw last night. Oh my!
Oh, he's terrible. Vernon or whatever.
Oh yeah, whatever his fucking name is. He won't be there next year this time.
No, he won't. He will not. I give him like 3 months.
Yeah, if he makes it through a year, to be a miracle.
So moving right along here,
talk about another legend in the territories right next.
Yep. Butch Reed, rest in power, with Slick, defeated Coco Beware, who came out to Morris Day in the Times, the Bird.
Damn.
Which is just a freaking banger.
Yeah.
Timeless banger, man.
I know.
I fucking love
Morris
Day in the Time.
Always.
I know that song. So I heard this song, and I actually haven't seen any of Coco Beware's matches up until this point, so I don't really know anything about him. The only thing I do know about him is, for our listeners, if you go back to the episode of Keep the Kayfabe where we play the game Hit My Music, Coco Beware is one of the answers. This is not that theme song.
Exactly.
And it really caught me off guard, but I loved it. And the crowd also loved it because they were all about Coco Beware the moment he came out.
He's a face, man. Up. He's a big, hot meat, hot meat,
baby face.
Yeah.
Well, that must have came out right around when Purple Rain came out.
Oh yeah, it was right
because
around that
Morris
time.
Day in the Time, it was 87. So
they were big. Yep.
Morris Day in the Time was on Purple Rain, and that song was featured, and that album was #1 at the time. So it must have came out right around the same time, which is great synergy again. I mean, they used to have it figured out. I mean, you're having Euchre. We're gonna get to more of the guests that come out, celebrities, to make this night special. But yeah, let's not take away from Butch Reed and Coco Beware. This was a very, very short match. It was only 3 minutes and 39 seconds. I love Coco. I love Frankie. But Butch Reed did defeat Coco Beware. I can't really... I think... who came out and started ripping up Slick's suit? Was that this match? I think so.
No, I think that was the next match, I want to say. But,
okay.
Now that you say that, though, it very well could have been this match, because one thing I think they did consistently on this card is even when they gave you a heel win, you still got like a baby face victory post-match.
Exactly.
So, I'll have to go back and look and see who messed with Slick.
I can't remember. Either way.
Was it Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
No.
That was later.
Yes, that was later.
It's okay. Because the next match is the match that should have been the main event, but was not the main event. And if you did catch the Randy Savage slam piece that was just on A&E biography, you would have gotten an inside look to this match, which is basically one of the Mona Lisas of wrestling to date. It was between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with George Steele and Randy Savage, current Intercontinental Champion, with, of course, Miss Elizabeth. And this was maybe one of the best matches ever. It goes down as that, as far as a lot of, wrestling enthusiasts and his historians. We did just see on the biography that this is kind of when Randy was like really, really OCD, and they wrote this match out 167 moves. That's including kickouts. That's including chops, like being thrown out of the ring. They went over it move by move by move, and Savage would actually test Ricky Steamboat, like, okay, Ricky, what's move 67? He would call him in the middle of the night and go over this because it was he was so amped for it. Go ahead, Steve.
If you can't trust Ricky Steamboat, my God, who can you trust? He's like
right,
possibly the greatest worker that's ever lived. What's interesting about that? It's stuck in my mind to this day, and I never got an answer. But we're talking like 6-7 years ago. I was listening to Stone Cold's podcast, and he had William Regal on. And they were talking about stuff, and I don't remember what they were talking, but they brought up this match, and Regal said something to the effect of that he thought it was like really one of the best matches he's seen until he talked to Steamboat, and then it kind of changed his opinion of the match. And then Stone Cold said something like, yeah, that opinion altered my view as well. And then they kind of had like this wink and a nod where they didn't go into it, and they never explained why. And it left me wondering, like, okay, this is Stone Cold and Regal, two of the all-time greats, kind of hinting that, boy, something really soured them to this match. I imagine it has to do with the over preparation for it and that sort of thing. But
What
it was
was
one
the
of the rare
opinion?
times. Well, basically they just said, like, the two of them, and it was annoying at the time because they didn't let the listeners in on it, saying, yeah,
Oh.
boy, after talking to Steamboat about this, I don't really feel the same way about it anymore. And then Stone Cold's like, yeah, I agree with you, but if you know what I mean, like, wink wink. And then they never explained it. So I think there's some like
Well, that's
insider
rude.
thing, like this match was, and again, maybe it was just because, it wasn't organic, it wasn't called in the ring. It was the opposite of called in the ring. It was rehearsed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's still to the end person, people like us, it was a masterpiece. But I imagine as a wrestler, you might feel differently about it.
Yeah, it's one of those matches where even as I was watching this, you could tell that a lot of it was pre-rehearsed, but at the same time, it didn't take away from how awesome of a match it was.
No.
There was so many sequences that I feel like you see now every week on Monday Night Raw, or just they've almost become, that match has almost become like the recipe for a lot of stuff that gets called in the ring. I feel like, it'll be like certain sequences that you see over and over, like, Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man trading kickouts, but then like flipping around, arm dragging each other into another pin with a similar kick out. And, almost like it's just like boom, 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 greatest hits, go home, done. Yeah, I'll be honest, I had not watched this match ever until we, studied up to preview this pay-per-view or review this pay-per-view. And man, this was incredible. You hear these stories, people talking about how the Macho Man was one of the great all-time greats. And this match, if you don't watch any of his other stuff, this is the match to watch, in my opinion. I've seen some of his other work, but I can't imagine anything comes close to this. It's just classic. You watch it, it's in the 80s, but you'd swear this could have taken place in NXT in 2016, right? So
right. Yeah. And you have to remember too, the fans came to see this match because they did have an awesome story leading up to this, when Randy Savage injured the larynx or the throat of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who is like the ultimate babyface. We've done our babyface episode, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is the fucking man. He is an unbelievable worker, so beloved by many. And Randy, tore him up leading up to this. And then he added Greg, or what's his name? George Steele, everybody's furry friend, who kind of played like King Kong, abducting the beautiful maiden, Miss Elizabeth. So it had some, romanticism in it as well. And we already covered how toxic the relationship between Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth was. Plus, they said, being such a perfect match, this is like Randy couldn't like eclipse that match, which made everything that he did after that subpar, which kind of fed into his paranoia and maybe drug abuse. I mean, we saw him as an announcer after that. This was his peak. And I mean, maybe this is all being said because we just saw that piece on A&E.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you throw out all that info that we learned about the match, how there was 167 rehearsed spots, and just watched it for what it was, I mean, we would be like, wow, this has got to be like definitely in the top 5 matches of all time in wrestling history. Yeah, anybody else got anything to add on that one?
Nothing on this one. One thing I do want to mention, though, is we just talked about Coco Beware and Butch Reed. And Mike, you had asked if somebody came and ripped up Slick's outfit. The answer is yes. It was Tito Santana.
That's right. Not Chico?
Actually, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. It was Chico. That's actually what confused me, is Jesse Ventura went nuts with the Chico references during this segment.
All right.
One last thing about this match too is because I remember as a 13-year-old feeling this way, and I think this is something else modern wrestling fans will appreciate, because nowadays you see this all the time, but back then this was a rare match when I was a kid where there was tons of false finishes or pinfalls. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't see that much back then. Now it's like fashionable, but that was another thing that made this match really unique, was the near falls. So yeah, that just goes to show if you don't overuse something, it can really lend to the special quality of a match.
Absolutely. Moving right along, we had the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart. Yeah, baby. Defeated Jake Roberts, and Jake Roberts was accompanied with Alice Cooper, a snakeman himself.
Yeah.
And Alice Cooper was hot back then, right around this time, right? Was that when
mid-80s? Yeah.
Out? Is that him?
Yeah,
that's him. Yeah,
that is Alice Cooper. That song was in the 70s more. Around this time.
Okay.
This was Wayne's World era Alice Cooper. Songs like Poison, Feed My Frankenstein, stuff like that. But yeah, he was
hot,
still
though.
Sort of his second big comeback peak.
Nice. So I didn't get the chance to watch this match tonight, but yeah, Jake the Snake, he's the man. It's nice that they put him on a little, slow it down a little bit after, Steamboat and Randy. The crowd probably needed a little break after that. Was this a slower match a little bit? It only went 7 minutes.
Yeah.
A little more methodical. Yep.
Yeah, definitely more methodical. Not too much, though. They did a really good job bringing the crowd down just slowly enough. I was kind of shocked by the ending, actually, because like you said, Mike, we saw Jake lose this match, which didn't really expect. But at the same time, just like true WWE heel booking fashion on this pay-per-view, after the match, post-match, we see the Snake Damien make its appearance and just terrorize everyone in sight. So still gave the people what they wanted, despite how the match may have ended.
Yep, that'd be a win-win because Jake didn't lose much because he had that moment, and then Honky Tonk Man gets his big win, and soon after, like what months, I don't remember, but maybe later that year, he beat Steamboat for the Intercontinental, and then would go on to have the longest run ever as an Intercontinental champion. So this was the sort of coming out party for Honky Tonk Man on to bigger things.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Faux show.
All right, we're getting down to the bottom of this card now. We have the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov with Slick versus the Killer Bees, Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell. And the Iron Sheik and Nikolai won by disqualification.
Yeah, but really the United States was the winner in this match.
That's right.
Yeah, we did. So another thing in this
weren't those
match,
guys Canadian?
Bees.
No, okay, no,
the Bees were from Minnesota. Yeah,
okay, Minnesota.
Florida,
Yeah.
They were big.
Yeah,
they were
big in the AWA too.
Yep.
The biggest highlight of this match, beyond the Killer Bees, was the appearance of Hacksaw Jim Duggan when he came out with a 2x4 and chased after both the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. And they put a nice little touch on the 2x4. There was a miniature American flag.
That's 80s wrestling.
During the match, Jim Duggan just stood at ringside, got the crowd chanting USA, all fired up against the heels. I think Jim Duggan is actually the one who went after Nikolai Volkov with a steel chair and ended up getting the disqualification. But again, heel booking fashion on this pay-per-view, the people still got what they wanted. Both the foreigners were attacked with a chair, got their comeuppance despite having won the match by disqualification. Then we see Jim Duggan and the Killer Bees leaving the arena, but still getting the crowd all fired up with some good old-fashioned patriotism.
Oh, tough guy.
Gotta love it.
Tough guy. Yep, tough guy. Forgot about that.
You gotta love it. And plus, Iron Sheik and Duggan used to roll together on the road a lot.
Oh
done
my
a lot
gosh.
of drugs together too. So
that
they
got
probably
on
celebrated
serious
pretty
trouble.
hard after that.
They like the weed.
Did you bring that up for that reason? Because isn't that what got like them both like suspended or fired for a while because they were heel and baby face and they
riding
got
together.
They got busted together, and that I know Duggan got fired, I think, but then they brought him back, and Sheik was in trouble and they brought him back. But that was that era where you don't have a good guy and a bad guy get caught together.
They're still a little
doing drugs.
Yep.
Yep. It's all those nose beers that bring the boys together.
Sugar boogers.
White lines.
All right.
Blow away.
White lines.
Base. All right. So this is what this is what everybody came to see. This is what everybody came to see. The highly anticipated match between Hulk Hogan.
Some of the two are the best workers ever.
and Andre the Giant. Okay, so this has been on billboards. This has been on magazine covers. It's been on the radio, TV, news, all around the world. 93,000 people packed the house to see this. Andre the Giant can barely move.
Yeah, he was in rough shape.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Hogan is in his prime. And this is basically, why we still have wrestling today, because of this match, because it really just, it made it all relevant.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually gone over this match on our past episode, BH Before Hollywood. It's one of our more popular shows. Go check it out, where we relive some of the greatest moments in wrestling. Hogan really didn't know how this match was going to go down. He tried to, talk to Andre, and he wanted to know how to do this match because of all the hype and all the everything. But I think Andre wanted to relax a little bit, probably because he was nervous, but also keep that high tension in the Hulkster, because he was basically the most popular wrestler in the world. And Andre's like, I'll let you know when it's time. And so, and what it was, this was the big body slam where Hulk Hogan finally body slammed Andre the Giant. He tried many times without the match. He's like hurting his back. I mean, everybody says this is probably one of the worst matches wrestled. But yeah, it's important. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just gonna say, this is where star rating. It's like, I think Dave Meltzer gave it like a -2 stars. It's like, well, sure, it wasn't a great match, but nobody
have a job right now, Dave Meltzer, because of this match.
Right, 93,000 people didn't walk away thinking, "Oh my gosh, that work rate wasn't great." I mean, sometimes the story in the moment trumps the in-ring work, and I'm somewhere in between. I'm not like, I get it. It wasn't a great match, but who the hell cares? It was a huge moment, and it was the flag stuck in like one of the most important shows of all time. Yeah, I mean, what's -2 stars? I mean, I would give this thing 4 stars because it did exactly what it needed to do.
Yeah.
It was one unbridled success in the history of wrestling.
I totally agree. You think about it, if you think about it in terms of the fact that in real life, like let's say, for example, forget work rate, forget all that. Let's say that these two actually did not like each other and we're going to go toe to toe for the belt. Like in reality, you really think Hogan could easily slam Andre the Giant? No. And a lot of other wrestling moves probably couldn't easily be applied either, because Andre's just a massive dude with an amazing amount of strength. We've seen these feats of strength he used to do in like the late 70s, early 80s, just kind of furthering, prove that. So when you go into this match expecting to see something like a shooting star press or whatever, you're not going to get that. And, both these guys are just massive brutes. So the work rate's going to be a lot different. It's going to be a lot slower, and it's going to be more about power moves. But it's how does Gorilla word it? The indestructible force versus the immovable object.
You got it.
That's exactly what we got out of this match. So I will say, I think it was one of the better matches in the sense that I can remember different segments of it. There's the segment where they go outside the ring, the mats get pulled up. There's that moment where you think, oh no, someone's going to get dropped on the concrete. Doesn't quite happen. Get back in the ring. Like there's a story to it, right? And there's chapters to it. So Steve, exactly what you just said, regardless of the work rate, the story that they told is exactly what they needed to tell. And obviously it was successful because, like you said, 90,000+ people walked away happy, and we're still talking about it 30 years later.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Charlie, it's your all-time favorite, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the work rate is just insane, dude. Forget Steamboat and Savage, dude. This was the best match of all time, WrestleMania. Forget Michaels, Undertaker.
Drop in Ricochet and make it a triple threat, and nobody will ever top it in history.
There you
go.
Or
Daniel Bryan triple threat, because that's what you do.
Yep. Make sure that
I actually thought this was
put Braun Strowman in that way he can do the job, so you save your other guys. So
I actually think this was the greatest pay-per-view match I've seen until Damian Priest and the Miz with lumberjack zombies.
Well, you hit. Well, you can hit my Charlie's corner because they redid that match tonight with the lumberjacks.
Oh, did they? Well, hold on. Cue it up, Matt.
All right. Well, based on what you just said, it's now time for Charlie's Corner. Charlie, you've enlightened us with some fascinating news here. Please share it with the listeners.
Yeah. As of Raw tonight, they redid the lumberjack match with regular wrestlers by the ring, and it's still the same outcome. Damian Priest won.
Incredible. And that, and where would you rank that match compared with this main event from WrestleMania 3?
They're right up there on par, dude. That's things I won't be watching.
Yeah, and probably in terms of work rate as well.
Oh yeah, no, Priest is pretty good, and so is Morrison. So I can't throw any shade on those guys, but they're Hulk's not gonna. Hulk and Andre at that time aren't gonna give you a lot of tope suicidas and moonsaults and hurricanranas. When you compare them to Ray Phoenix, you're not gonna. It's gonna be a letdown. If you're looking at Ray Phoenix, I think you're gonna get the same thing. It's gonna be a little bit of a letdown.
That's a match I want to see in 2022. Hogan versus Ray Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix.
Just imagine watching WrestleMania 3, 93,000, and then the main event's announced, and then you hear Lucha Bros, Mexicans, Cerro Mano.
Meet us in the ring.
And with that, this has been Charlie's Corner.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, boys, before we wrap
it up too, I want to give. Let's not forget New Jack, dude.
Jack.
Oh yes,
one of the classics, dude. Go back and watch. I was doing it over the weekend and today a little bit, watching some of those promos from Smoky Mountain. Just guy's great, dude. He was just great. It just sucks that he didn't change his style so he could fit anywhere else, but he was made for ECW, and those small territories, and that was his wheelhouse, dude. He was great.
Did you see Heyman's tribute to him?
Yep. I shared that on Facebook. It was good, yeah. But really, it's so funny too, because I just watched a sit down with him, and he was just going off on Heyman, dude. Come on, how bad of a crook he was, and it's kind of funny. And it was like cool that he did that, because I'm sure he saw New Jack just talking massive shit about him, dude. It's just that's great, but Heyman sucked it up and talked about him as talked about his work and shit. So, but that was New Jack, dude. New Jack was nuts, man. And if you ever, you guys never saw him live, but man, when that music would hit, and it would just play his music through the whole match, it was just fucking crazy chaos.
It was like a Public Enemy concert.
Yeah, it was like, it was that Natural Born Killers, dude. It was just off the chains crazy, dude. It was just chaos. He was, like I said, he wasn't no great worker, but his style was great for what he did,
For some of our newer listeners, if you aren't as familiar with New Jack, or maybe if you haven't heard Charlie talk about New Jack in the past, Charlie was lucky enough to go to ECW Hardcore Heaven in 2000 and see New Jack jump off a 20-foot balcony through a table onto
two tables stacked up, dude. Dude, it was the hardest hit on the foot I've ever seen in my life, dude. It was crazy.
That alone should give you an idea of the kind of performer New Jack was beyond just his promos.
It was just nuts, dude. It was just the highest. It was just nuts, dude. Nuts.
You can get a good look into his life by watching Dark Side of the Ring New Jack episode. Probably top 3 out of the whole series.
One of my favorite. Yep.
He was he lived a very rough life, and you can kind of understand why he was the way he was in the ring based on his childhood that they do investigate. Not a lot of people should have to go through some of the shit that he did, but he was the man. He loved what he did, and he did it well. He leaned into his character, and he lived it. So rest in peace, New Jack. He's the man.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well. Before we exit, we're gonna do promo of the week.
Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well in the grave.
Yeah, I hope you're in the wheelchair doing coke and screwdrivers like you ended
like you wanted to be.
Ended the Dark Side of the Ring episode. That was so classic. But we're gonna get to promo of the week. But that was our WrestleMania 3 wrap up, boys. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for checking that out, and hopefully do more. So, hey, if you're a regular listener and love Keep the Kayfabe and you want to hear what we have to say about another pay-per-view, shoot us a note and we'll look into it and try to work it into the show. So, our promo of the week comes from another Nick from Minnesota, and this is someone we already brought up on the show that was in WrestleMania 3, Adrian Adonis and Jesse the Body Ventura do a promo with the AWA with Mean Gene.
Brought that up before.
Yep. Let's take a listen.
Well, fans, just to bring you up to date here in the AWA, the current heavyweight champion of the world, Vern Gagne, he happened to get that title back in Chicago, Illinois on July the 18th from none other than Nick Bockwinkel, the man who we talked to earlier, the current tag team champions of the world, one of whom hails from down at San Diego, Jesse the Body Ventura, and his partner out of the Big Apple of New York City, the Golden Boy, Adrian Adonis. Gentlemen, welcome to the Bay Area.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, we got a few friends to say hello to. I like to say hello to Grace Slick, Marty Ballard of the Jefferson Airplane. I know they're going to accompany us down to dinner at Original Joe's, which we're going to have a meal of a lifetime, Daddy. And Jesse and myself, a lot of people, a lot of friends we know in the San Francisco area, and they're very happy to see us. And a couple weeks ago, I heard Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson out here giving us a so-called challenge. Well, they were back in the early 70s, it. Well, this is 1980, and we are it now. So whatever they want to do, however they want to come about it, we're ready, and we're willing, and we're able, Daddy. Isn't that right, Jesse?
Isn't that right? Yes.
That's right, Jack. Gene, right?
You better believe it.
All right. Let me tell you something concerning Mr. Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens, the former kingpins of the Bay Area. Well, you know, it's not often, Mean Gene, that champions go looking for challengers. Generally, it's the other way around. The challengers look for the champions. But Adrian and myself could think of nothing better, possibly, than facing Patterson and Stevens right in their home ground, San Francisco, and beating them in San Francisco, which would then make us the kingpins of Frisco and the Bay Area.
Well, gentlemen, I want you to know for a fact you're talking about two veritable legends in Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens, and two very talented wrestlers who know.
Wait. Have you checked out the lateral deltoid lately?
The lateral deltoid?
Check that out. Anyway, getting back to Mr. Patterson and Stevens, we're the champions. We're standing here waiting for them or any other top challengers in the world. Because, baby, we are the best. We are the best of the 80s.
You know, that kind of talk...
East-West connection.
Sooner or later, gentlemen, you will eat your words. You can't be that overly confident, really.
Never, baby, never.
You might eat that mic.
And I want to say hi to Phil Lesh and Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead.
Thank you, gentlemen. The current tag team champions of the world, the East-West Connection, Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis. TV20's All-Star Wrestling, next Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Have a good one. And so long.
And there you have it. Two of the best.
Like I said, I took that one off before, man. Those guys were great in the AWA. Right, Charlie? I mean, you always liked that promo.
Oh, I loved it. It was classic, dude. You can't get over. You don't get them like that much anymore.
Jesse's delivery.
You don't get them like that.
Jesse's delivery just never gets old, right?
And if you're a fan of the show and you want to submit a promo that you want played on the show, hit us up. Send it to us on our DMs on Instagram at Keep the Kayfabe. DM us on Facebook at Keep the Kayfabe. And yeah, boys, if you do three things this week, you stay humble, you stay hungry, and you stay hard.
Triple H! Triple H!
And all the while I think of you. A very strange reaction. The more I see, the more I do. Something like a phenomenon. Baby. Telling your body to come along, but white lights blow away. Roll! Rock it! Roll! ticket to ride. White Line Highway, tell all your friends they can go my way. Pay your toll, sell your soul, pound for pound, cost more than gold.
This is such good shit.